Good morning. My name is Chapman, and for those that know me, know that my life is filled with God's grace, gentleness, and patience. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I grew up with a mixed theology, actually, anywhere ranging from no theology whatsoever to a period of believing in reincarnation to ultimately believing that, yes, there's got to be a God, but not really understanding who he was or how powerful he was or active. In fact, I remember in college arguing, debating with open-air evangelists. Looking back, I argued absolutely out of ignorance. But God was gentle and patient and kind and brought me to a point where my life grew more and more dissatisfying to asking these questions of there's got to be more. And I remember coming to faith in Christ. I was young. I had a young family. I was a husband, a father. I was working in the military. And we were struggling greatly. But God's gentleness and patience, he brought us into a neighborhood that had a Baptist church. And I remember asking my wife if she would come with me to the Baptist church so I could try to figure out more of who God was and what this purpose and meaning behind life actually is. And fortunately, some members of the church came, shared the gospel with both me and my wife and my family. And on August 3rd, 1995, my wife and I accepted to receive salvation. And God was gentle and patient, brought a mentor in my life to answer all the questions I had, some of the crazy questions, but nonetheless helped me grow in my faith. And at that time, they also shared and taught me how to share my testimony and share the gospel through Evangelism Explosion. We got very involved with youth ministry, and God was gracious enough to put missions on our heart. And I remember being called into ministry early on, and but through, again, God's grace and patience, I pushed that aside, and he allowed me to do so. Brought me to Texas, where I was able to grow, get involved with some other churches, and I actually grew in my understanding, grew in my faith. My family grew as well, and more importantly, we continued to get involved in missions. And it was through missions that God placed France on our hearts. And it was through France that this calling years before was elevated and amplified. And God had turned the volume up to say, you need to be involved. You need to get involved, help church plant, help spread the gospel around the world. And I look at how gentle God was and how patient he is. And watching him open the doors to allow me to go to seminary. And I look again at his patience and grace. I'm an old dog learning new tricks, but through his patience, through his grace, he's allowed me to understand and grow in my knowledge, grow in my faith, and more importantly, help me to balance the competing demands. And I am now following this call to ministry, following the call that God's asked me to. Super excited to see what he's going to do, and super confident knowing that there is now purpose, and I want to share that purpose with other people.